The alien ship descended silently over the small town of Willow Creek, its sleek metallic surface glinting under the pale moonlight. People gathered in their yards and on rooftops, staring up at the massive vessel with a mix of awe and fear. It wasn't every day that an unidentified flying object decided to park itself right above your home. Among the crowd stood Alex, a wiry man in his mid-30s who had always been more curious than scared of the unknown. He squinted at the ship, shielding his eyes from the faint glow it emitted. His hands were shoved deep into the pockets of his worn leather jacket, but there was no mistaking the spark of excitement in his eyes. "Aliens!" muttered Sam, Alex's best friend since childhood. Unlike Alex, Sam was visibly uneasy. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other, clutching a baseball bat like it could somehow protect him against whatever might emerge from the craft. "You think they're friendly?" Alex shrugged, his lips curling into a smirk. "Only one way to find out." Before Sam could protest, a loud hum filled the air. A section of the ship began to open, revealing a glowing doorway. From within stepped a tall figure, its body elongated and sleek, covered in shimmering scales that reflected light like liquid silver. Its head was smooth, with large black eyes that seemed to absorb everything around them. The alien moved gracefully, almost floating as it approached the humans. When it stopped just a few feet away from the crowd, it raised one arm, pointing directly at Alex. Its voice boomed through some unseen mechanism, echoing across the silent night. "You," it said, its tone cold and commanding. "Step forward." Alex froze for a moment, surprised by being singled out. Then, shrugging off Sam's whispered protests, he took a hesitant step forward. The rest of the townsfolk backed away instinctively, leaving Alex standing alone beneath the alien's imposing gaze. "What do you want?" Alex asked, trying to sound braver than he felt. The alien tilted its head slightly, studying him as if he were some strange insect pinned to a board. "I am Xyler," it announced, "and I have come to observe your species. You are primitive, weak, fragile." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, but Alex didn't flinch. Instead, he crossed his arms over his chest and met Xyler's gaze head-on. "Yeah? Well, we've got something you don't." "Oh?" Xyler's voice dripped with mockery. "And what might that be?" "A spine," Alex shot back without missing a beat. "Ever heard of it?" For a moment, there was silence. Then Xyler let out a sharp, grating sound, a laugh? Whatever it was, it sent chills down everyone's spines. "Clever," the alien sneered. "But cleverness will not save you." Without another word, Xyler reached out with one long, clawed hand and grabbed Alex by the shoulder. Before anyone could react, both figures vanished in a flash of blinding light, leaving behind only whispers and confusion. Back aboard the alien ship, Alex found himself standing in a sterile, metallic chamber. Tubes and wires snaked along the walls, pulsating with faint lights. Xyler loomed over him, its expression unreadable. "So," Alex said, breaking the tense silence, "this is your spaceship? Bit flashy, isn't it?" Xyler ignored the comment, circling Alex like a predator sizing up its prey. "Your kind fascinates me," it admitted after a while. "So much emotion. So much defiance. Even when faced with superior beings, you refuse to submit." "Well, yeah," Alex replied, leaning casually against a nearby console. "That's kinda our thing." Xyler paused, tilting its head again. "Defiance," it repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. "Let us see how far it takes you." With that, the alien pressed a button on a panel near its hip. Instantly, the floor beneath Alex opened up, dropping him into darkness. He barely had time to yell before landing, hard, on a cold, damp surface. Groaning, Alex sat up and looked around. He was in what appeared to be a dimly lit arena, surrounded by high walls made of some kind of translucent material. Beyond those walls, he could see shadowy figures moving, other aliens, watching him intently. "What the hell is this?" Alex muttered, getting to his feet. But before he could ponder further, the ground trembled. Something was coming. From the far end of the arena, A massive creature emerged, part reptile, part machine, all nightmare fuel. Its eyes glowed red, and its jagged teeth gleamed menacingly in the low light. It roared, shaking the very air. Alex swallowed hard, his heart pounding. For once, even his quick wit failed him. This wasn't just taunting anymore. This was survival. And Alex knew one thing for sure: if he wanted to live, he'd have to fight back. Hard. The monstrous creature lunged forward, its metallic claws scraping against the ground with a deafening screech. Alex barely had time to dive out of the way as it slammed into the spot where he'd been standing moments before. He rolled onto his feet, breathing hard and trying to keep his wits about him. Okay, Alex muttered to himself, backing away slowly. Think, damn it! Think! The creature turned sharply, its glowing red eyes locking onto him like targeting lasers. Its tail whipped through the air, narrowly missing Alex's head as he ducked. He stumbled backward, tripping over his own feet and landing hard on the cold floor. Pain shot up his spine, but there was no time to recover. The beast was already charging again. Desperation fueled Alex's movements. As the creature closed in, he grabbed a loose chunk of debris from the ground, a jagged piece of metal, and hurled it with all his strength. It struck the creature squarely in one of its glowing eyes, causing it to roar in pain and stagger sideways. Yes! Alex shouted triumphantly, scrambling to his feet. But his relief was short-lived. The creature shook off the blow and fixed its remaining good eye on him, angrier than ever. Meanwhile, high above the arena, Xyler watched the scene unfold with detached interest. Beside it stood another alien, shorter and more humanoid in appearance, with pale blue skin and wide, curious eyes. This one, named Kale, leaned closer to the transparent barrier, observing Alex's every move. He's resourceful, Kale remarked, tilting their heads slightly. For a human, Xyler scoffed, crossing its arms. Resourcefulness means nothing against superior strength and technology. Watch. He will falter soon enough. Back in the arena, Alex was running out of options. The creature had recovered from its injury and now moved with renewed ferocity. Every dodge and evasion left Alex more exhausted, and the adrenaline that had initially fueled him was starting to fade. But then something caught his eye, a faint glimmer near the far wall. Squinting, he realized it was a discarded weapon of some sort, half buried under rubble. If he could reach it, maybe, just maybe, he'd stand a chance. Taking a deep breath, Alex feigned a stumble, falling to one knee as the creature charged at him. At the last second, he rolled to the side, letting the beast crash into the wall behind him. Ignoring the searing pain in his shoulder, he sprinted toward the weapon, his lungs burning with effort. The crowd of aliens watching from above murmured among themselves, their voices rising in excitement. Some cheered for the creature, others seemed intrigued by Alex's audacity. Xyler remained silent, its expression unreadable. Finally, Alex reached the weapon, a long, sleek staff-like device with glowing runes etched along its surface. He grabbed it, and turned just in time to see the creature barreling toward him once more. Without hesitation, he swung the staff instinctively, activating it mid-swing. A bolt of crackling energy erupted from the tip, striking the creature square in the chest. It let out an ear-splitting shriek, stumbling backward as smoke rose from the charred wound. The force of the blast sent Alex sprawling to the ground, but he quickly scrambled back to his feet, gripping the staff tightly. The creature tried to advance again, but its movements were sluggish now, its body visibly weakened. Encouraged by this, Alex pressed his advantage, firing another bolt of energy. This one hit the creature's mechanical leg joint, disabling it entirely. With a final, guttural roar, the beast collapsed to the ground, defeated. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the assembled aliens erupted into a cacophony of sounds, some cheering, others jeering. Above them all, Xyler's voice cut through the noise. Enough! It bellowed, raising a hand to signal the end of the spectacle. The walls of the arena shimmered and vanished, leaving Alex standing alone in the center of the chamber, still clutching the staff. His chest heaved as he struggled to catch his breath, sweat dripping down his face. Despite his exhaustion, there was a fierce determination in his eyes. "Well?" Alex called out, glaring up at Xyler. "Is that all you've got? Or are we gonna keep playing fetch with your pet monsters?" Xyler descended gracefully from its perch, stopping just a few feet away from Alex. For a long moment, it simply stared at him, its expression unreadable. Then, to everyone's surprise, including Alex's, it let out another of those grating laughs. "You amuse me, human," Xyler said, its tone tinged with reluctant admiration. "Perhaps defiance is not so futile after all." Alex raised an eyebrow, lowering the staff slightly but keeping it ready. "Glad you think so. Now, how about telling me why I'm here? You didn't drag me aboard just to throw me into some intergalactic coliseum, did you?" Xyler tilted its head thoughtfully. "No. There is more. Much more." It gestured for Alex to follow. "Come. I will show you." Reluctantly, Alex obeyed, though he kept a firm grip on the staff. As they walked, Kale joined them, walking silently beside Xyler. The shorter alien glanced at Alex occasionally, curiosity evident in its wide eyes. "So," Alex said after a while, breaking the tense silence, "what exactly am I supposed to be seeing?" Xyler stopped abruptly and turned to face him. "You humans pride yourselves on adaptability. On resilience. We wish to test these claims further." "Test?" Alex echoed, narrowing his eyes. "You mean like that thing back there? Because if this is your idea of a science experiment, you guys really need to rethink your ethics board." Kale made a soft clicking sound, which Alex guessed might have been laughter. Xyler, however, remained stoic. "This is no mere experiment," it said coldly. "It is preparation. Your species is on the brink of discovery. You will soon venture beyond your planet. And when you do," it trailed off ominously. "When we do what?" Alex prompted, growing impatient. "When you do," Xyler continued, "you must be ready. Ready to face threats far greater than yourselves. Threats even we cannot fully comprehend." Alex frowned, processing this information. "So what, you're training me? Like some kind of space soldier?" "In a manner of speaking," Xyler replied. "But whether you succeed or fail depends entirely on you." Before Alex could respond, the group arrived at a massive door that slid open automatically, revealing a vast chamber filled with advanced technology. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing star maps, biological scans, and schematics of weapons unlike anything Alex had ever seen. "This," Xyler announced grandly, "is the beginning of your trial." Alex stepped inside cautiously, taking in the sight. Despite his fear and frustration, a spark of curiosity ignited within him. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain: he wasn't going to back down without a fight. And if Xyler thought taunting him would break his spirit, they were dead wrong. Because humans didn't just survive, they thrived. And Alex intended to prove it. The chamber was overwhelming in its complexity. Every surface seemed alive with activity. Holographic screens flickered, strange machinery hummed softly, and glowing conduits pulsed rhythmically along the walls. Alex stood frozen for a moment, trying to take it all in. It felt like stepping into the cockpit of some futuristic spaceship, except this wasn't just one ship, it was an entire arsenal. Xyler gestured toward a nearby console, where a holographic projection of Earth hovered above it. "This is your world," the alien said coldly. "Fragile. Vulnerable. And yet you cling to it as if it is invincible." Alex crossed his arms, narrowing his eyes. "Yeah? And what's that got to do with me?" Kale stepped forward, speaking for the first time since entering the chamber. Their voice was softer than Xyler's, almost melodic. "It means we need to understand how far humans are willing to go to protect what matters most. Your planet, your people, even yourself." Alex glanced between the two aliens, suspicion etched across his face. "So, let me get this straight. You abduct me, toss me into a death match with some cyber reptile, and now you want to turn me into, what? A soldier? For what army?" "For survival," Xyler replied sharply. Your species will soon encounter others, some hostile, some indifferent. If you cannot adapt, you will perish. Adapt or die, huh? Alex muttered under his breath. He looked around again, noticing racks of weapons lining the walls. Some resembled guns, while others were completely alien in design, glowing orbs, jagged blades, devices that defied explanation. And I'm supposed to learn how to use all this junk? You are not merely learning to fight, Kale explained gently. You are learning to think, to strategize, to survive. Before Alex could respond, Xyler snapped its fingers, and a section of the floor slid open, revealing a series of platforms suspended over a dark abyss. Lights blinked on each platform, forming a path that shifted unpredictably. This is your next challenge, Xyler announced. Cross the grid. Fail, and you fall. Alex stared at the shifting platforms, his heart sinking. You've got to be kidding me. What happens if I fall? You restart, Xyler said simply. Until you succeed, or until you break. Alex clenched his jaw, irritation bubbling beneath the surface. Great. No pressure, right? Without waiting for further instructions, he stepped onto the first platform. It wobbled slightly but held firm. Taking a deep breath, he leaped to the next one, landing awkwardly but managing to stay upright. The platforms continued to shift, forcing him to adjust his footing constantly. Above him, Xyler watched impassively, while Kale leaned closer, their wide eyes following every move. He adapts quickly, Kale observed. He has no choice, Xyler replied. Survival instinct drives even the weakest creatures. As Alex progressed, the platforms began moving faster, making each jump more perilous. Sweat dripped down his forehead, and his legs burned with exertion. Just when he thought he'd found a rhythm, one platform vanished entirely, leaving him dangling precariously by one hand. Damn it! Alex cursed, swinging his free arm wildly until he managed to grab hold of another platform. Pulling himself up, he collapsed onto it, panting heavily. His chest rose and fell as he glared up at Xyler. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Xyler didn't answer, but the faintest hint of a smirk crossed its scaled features. Finally, after what felt like hours, Alex reached the end of the grid. Exhausted but triumphant, he stumbled onto solid ground and turned to face the aliens. Happy now? Not yet, Xyler replied, gesturing toward another part of the chamber. This area was dominated by a large circular arena surrounded by control panels. Inside the arena floated several floating drones, each equipped with glowing energy weapons. These drones simulate combat scenarios, Kale explained. They will test your reflexes, your strategy, and your ability to improvise. Alex groaned, rubbing his temples. Of course they will. The first drone fired a bolt of energy, which Alex barely dodged. Rolling to his feet, he snatched up a weapon from a nearby rack, a sleek pistol-like device, and returned fire. The shot missed, but it forced the drone to retreat momentarily. Over the next hour, Alex fought tirelessly against the relentless drones. At first, he struggled, taking hit after hit as he tried to figure out their patterns. But gradually, he began to adapt. He learned to anticipate their movements, to use the environment to his advantage, and to exploit weaknesses in their programming. By the time the last drone exploded in a shower of sparks, Alex was battered but victorious. He dropped to his knees, breathing heavily, his body aching from the exertion. Xyler approached, studying him intently. Impressive. You have shown resilience. Determination. Perhaps there is hope for your species after all. Alex glared up at the alien, his voice rough with exhaustion. Hope? Is that what you call this? Abducting me, throwing me into impossible situations, and expecting me to come out stronger? Newsflash, I'm not doing this because of hope. I'm doing it because I don't know any other way. Kale tilted their head curiously. What drives you, then? Fear? Anger? Alex hesitated, considering the question. Then, slowly, he shook his head. No. It's something else. Something you wouldn't understand. And what might that be? Xyler demanded, its tone sharp. Alex pushed himself to his feet, meeting the alien's gaze head-on. Stubbornness. Plain and simple. You can throw everything you've got at me, but I'm not giving up. Not now. Not ever. For the first time, Xyler seemed genuinely surprised. After a long pause, it nodded curtly. Very well. Let us see how far that stubbornness takes you. With that, Xyler led Alex to another section of the chamber, one filled with rows of pods, each containing strange suits of armor and advanced equipment. Tomorrow, Xyler said, your true training begins. Alex stared at the array of gear, his mind racing. Whatever lay ahead, he knew it would push him to his limits, and beyond. But as he stood there, battered and bruised but still standing, he realized something important. They could taunt him. They could test him. They could try to break him. But they couldn't make him quit. Because humans weren't just survivors, they were fighters. And Alex intended to show these aliens exactly what that meant. The next morning, or what Alex assumed was morning, since time aboard the alien ship seemed to have no clear rhythm, Xyler and Kale led him back into the chamber. The rows of pods now stood open, revealing their contents in full detail. Each suit of armor gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, its design both sleek and intimidating. Some pieces looked lightweight, almost like second skin, while others were bulkier, bristling with spikes and glowing circuits. This is your arsenal, Xyler announced, gesturing toward the array of equipment. Choose wisely. Alex stepped forward cautiously, his eyes scanning the suits. He reached out tentatively, running a hand over one of the lighter suits. It felt cool to the touch, yet strangely alive, as if it responded to his presence. What's so special about these? He asked, glancing at Xyler. They are adaptive, Kale explained. Designed to enhance your physical capabilities while learning your strengths and weaknesses. Each suit bonds uniquely with its wearer. Bond? Alex echoed skeptically. You mean like symbiosis? In a manner of speaking, Xyler replied. But beware, the bond requires trust. If you resist, the suit will reject you. Great, Alex thought. Just another impossible challenge. Still, he didn't have much choice. Picking up one of the lighter suits, he began examining it more closely. It was surprisingly flexible, with intricate patterns etched into the surface that shimmered faintly when touched. How do I put this thing on? He asked. Kale stepped forward, guiding him through the process. With their help, Alex slipped into the suit piece by piece. At first, it felt awkward and restrictive, but as he adjusted the straps and seals, the material began to mold itself to his body. Within moments, it fit perfectly, hugging his frame like a second layer of skin. Suddenly, Alex felt a strange sensation, a tingling warmth spreading across his chest, followed by a surge of energy coursing through his limbs. His vision sharpened, colors becoming more vivid, and sounds amplified to an almost unbearable clarity. He stumbled slightly, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of sensory information. It is normal, Kale reassured him. The suit is calibrating to your physiology. Alex took a few deep breaths, trying to steady himself. Slowly, the overwhelming sensations subsided, leaving behind a newfound sense of strength and agility. He clenched his fist experimentally, marveling at how light they felt despite the added weight of the armor. So, what now? He asked, turning to Xyler. Do I get to punch something? Xyler smirked, an expression that still managed to look menacing even on its alien face. Not yet. First, you must learn control. With that, the floor beneath them shifted again, transforming into a sprawling obstacle course filled with hazards and challenges. Lava-like pits bubbled menacingly, walls moved unpredictably, and robotic sentries patrolled the area, firing harmless but disorienting beams of light. Complete the course, Xyler instructed. And remember, the suit amplifies your abilities, but it cannot compensate for poor decision-making. Alex swallowed hard, eyeing the daunting layout before him. Without waiting for further instructions, he sprinted forward, testing his newfound speed. To his amazement, his legs moved faster than ever before, propelling him effortlessly over gaps and around obstacles. When a wall suddenly slid into place ahead of him, he leaped high into the air, clearing it easily thanks to the suit's enhanced strength. But the course wasn't designed solely for physical prowess. As Alex progressed, he encountered puzzles that required quick thinking and precision. In one section, he had to deactivate a series of laser traps by manipulating holographic controls using gestures projected by the suit. In another, he faced a group of drones programmed to mimic combat scenarios, forcing him to strategize and adapt on the fly. Throughout it all, Alex could feel the suit responding to his actions, adjusting its support based on his performance. Whenever he hesitated or made a mistake, it would gently nudge him in the right direction, almost as if it were coaching him. Above the course, Xyler and Kale observed silently. While Xyler maintained its usual stoic demeanor, Kale seemed genuinely fascinated, leaning closer to watch Alex navigate each challenge. "He is learning rapidly," Kale remarked. "Faster than most subjects we've tested." "That remains to be seen," Xyler replied curtly. "Let us see how he handles adversity." As if on cue, the course intensified. The obstacles grew more complex, the drones more aggressive, and the environmental hazards more dangerous. One misstep sent Alex tumbling into a pit of simulated flames, causing the suit to emit warning signals as it protected him from harm. Another error triggered a cascade of collapsing platforms, forcing him to improvise a desperate escape route. Despite the setbacks, Alex refused to give up. Every failure only fueled his determination to succeed. By the time he reached the final stretch, sweat poured down his face, and his muscles screamed in protest. But he pressed on, driven by sheer stubbornness and the unshakable belief that quitting wasn't an option. Finally, after what felt like hours, Alex crossed the finish line, collapsing onto the ground in exhaustion. The suit retracted slightly, easing the pressure on his body as it entered standby mode. Gasping for breath, he looked up at Xyler and Kale, who now stood beside him. "Well?" Alex panted, glaring defiantly at Xyler. "Did I pass your little test?" Xyler studied him for a moment, then nodded grudgingly. "You performed adequately. But true mastery requires more than raw skill." Before Alex could respond, Kale knelt beside him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You have proven yourself capable of adaptation," they said softly. "But there is still much to learn." "Like what?" Alex groaned, struggling to sit up. "How to fight armies. Survive black holes. What else do you want from me?" Xyler's expression darkened. "We want nothing less than your absolute best. Because when the time comes, and it will come, you must be prepared to face not just enemies, but choices. Choices that will define not only your fate but the fate of your species." Alex frowned, absorbing the gravity of the alien's words. For the first time since being abducted, he realized that this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about responsibility. About stepping up when the stakes were highest. "Fine," he muttered, getting to his feet. "Then teach me everything you've got. But don't expect me to thank you for it." Xyler's lips curled into a faint smile. "Gratitude is irrelevant. Resolve is what matters." With that, the alien led Alex to yet another section of the chamber, one dominated by a massive holoscreen displaying maps of distant planets, star systems, and potential threats. Symbols and data scrolled across the screen too quickly for Alex to comprehend, but he recognized enough to understand the enormity of what lay ahead. "This," Xyler declared, pointing to the holoscreen, "is the galaxy. And you, human, are about to take your first step into it." Alex stared at the display, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. Whatever challenges awaited him, he knew one thing for certain: he was ready to face them head on. Because humans didn't back down. Not when it mattered most. And Alex intended to prove that to the universe, even if it killed him. The holoscreen flickered as Xyler manipulated the controls, zooming in on a distant star system. A single planet stood out among the swirling constellations, a barren, rocky world with jagged mountains and sprawling deserts. Its surface shimmered faintly under the light of its sun, giving it an almost ethereal quality. This is Krylos, Xyler announced, its voice carrying a weight that made Alex's stomach churn. It is home to a species known as the Vorthak, ruthless scavengers who thrive on conquest. Alex squinted at the image, trying to imagine what kind of creatures could survive on such a hostile planet. And why am I looking at this? Because you will go there, Xyler replied sharply. Your first mission. Kale stepped forward, their tone softer but no less serious. The Vorthak have been raiding nearby systems, stealing resources and enslaving weaker species. We suspect they are planning something larger, an invasion. Invasion? Alex echoed, his brow furrowing. Of Earth? We do not know for certain, Kale admitted. But if they succeed in expanding their reach, your planet may become a target. Alex felt a cold knot form in his chest. For all his bravado and defiance, the idea of alien invaders setting their sights on Earth hit uncomfortably close to home. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to focus. So, what's the plan? Sneak in, blow them up, save the galaxy? Xyler let out one of its grating laughs. Nothing so simple. Your task is reconnaissance. Gather intelligence on their operations, identify weak points, and report back. No combat? Alex asked, raising an eyebrow. Not unless absolutely necessary, Kale interjected. Stealth is paramount. If you are discovered, the consequences could be catastrophic. Great, Alex muttered under his breath. Just great. Before he could protest further, Xyler handed him a small device, a compact orb that pulsed with a faint blue light. This is your comlink. It will allow us to monitor your progress and provide guidance when needed. And what happens if things go sideways? Alex asked pointedly. Do I get backup? You are human, Xyler replied coldly. You adapt. You improvise. That is what makes your species intriguing. Alex rolled his eyes but accepted the orb, attaching it to his suit. Despite the reassurance that his armor would protect him, unease gnawed at the edges of his mind. This wasn't some training exercise or simulated challenge, it was real. Lives were at stake. Hours later, Alex found himself standing aboard a sleek shuttlecraft, descending toward Krylos' surface. The planet loomed larger with each passing second, its harsh terrain growing clearer. Dust storms raged across vast plains, while towering spires of rock jutted out like broken teeth. It was a place of desolation and danger. As the shuttle touched down in a secluded valley, Alex took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. His suit hummed softly, adjusting to the planet's environment. Sensors embedded in the armor fed him real-time data about temperature, atmospheric composition, and potential threats. Remember, Xyler's voice crackled through the comlink. Avoid detection at all costs. Yeah, Alex muttered, stepping out of the shuttle. The air was thin and dry, carrying a metallic tang that made his throat itch. He adjusted the helmet integrated into his suit, ensuring the oxygen filtration system was functioning properly. Moving cautiously, Alex followed the coordinates provided by Xyler, navigating the treacherous landscape. The ground crunched beneath his boots, and the wind howled around him, whipping sand into his visor. Every step felt heavier than the last, not because of the gravity, but because of the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. After several tense hours of travel, he reached the outskirts of a sprawling Vorthak settlement. From his vantage point atop a ridge, he could see clusters of domed structures connected by narrow tunnels. Strange vehicles patrolled the area, their insected designs matching descriptions Xyler had given him earlier. They're organized, Alex whispered to himself, activating the suit's recording function. Almost militaristic. Suddenly, movement caught his eye. A group of Vorthak warriors emerged from one of the domes, their bodies covered in chitinous armor and armed with weapons that looked like crude hybrids of organic and mechanical parts. Their heads were elongated, with multiple glowing eyes that scanned their surroundings constantly. Alex crouched low, using the ridge for cover. His heart pounded as he watched the warriors converse in guttural tones, their language incomprehensible but clearly agitated. One of them gestured emphatically toward a massive structure at the center of the settlement, a towering monolith surrounded by energy barriers. "That must be it," Alex murmured, marking the location on his map. "Their command center." As he prepared to retreat and report his findings, a sharp noise startled him. Turning quickly, he spotted a lone Vortax scout approaching his position. The creature moved stealthily, its weapon raised and ready. Cursing under his breath, Alex activated the suit's cloaking mode, rendering himself nearly invisible. The scout paused, scanning the area suspiciously before continuing its patrol. Alex held his breath, waiting until the alien passed safely out of sight. But just as he began to relax, another sound echoed behind him, the unmistakable whine of an energy weapon charging. Spinning around, he came face to face with a second scout, its weapon aimed directly at him. "Damn it!" Alex muttered, deactivating the cloak. There was no time to run. No time to hide. All he could do was fight. The Vortax fired, but Alex ducked instinctively, the bolt searing past his head. Rolling to the side, he retrieved a compact blaster from his belt and returned fire. The shot struck the scout's weapon, disabling it temporarily. Seizing the opportunity, Alex lunged forward, tackling the creature to the ground. They grappled fiercely, the Vortax claws scraping against his armor. Alex struggled to maintain control, finally managing to pin the scout down long enough to deliver a decisive blow to its head. With a final shudder, the creature went limp. Breathing heavily, Alex scrambled to his feet, checking his surroundings. So much for stealth. He knew the commotion would draw attention soon, and he couldn't afford to stick around. Activating his suit's thrusters, he launched himself into the air, soaring over the ridge and putting distance between himself and the settlement. As he landed safely in a secluded ravine, he opened a channel to Xyler. "I've got intel," he reported tersely. "But things got messy. They know I'm here." There was a pause on the other end, followed by Xyler's clipped response. "Return to the extraction point immediately." "Already on my way," Alex replied, breaking into a sprint. Behind him, alarms blared in the distance, signaling the Vortax pursuit. For the next hour, Alex pushed himself harder than ever before, weaving through canyons and scaling cliffs to evade his pursuers. His suit's sensors warned him of incoming patrols, allowing him to adjust his course accordingly. Each close call only fueled his determination to survive. Finally, he reached the extraction point, a barren plateau where the shuttle awaited him. Leaping inside, he slammed his fist against the control panel, initiating the launch sequence. Moments later, the craft ascended rapidly, leaving the hostile planet far below. As the shuttle broke free of Krylo's atmosphere, Alex collapsed into a seat, exhaustion washing over him. He stared at the orb-like comlink in his hand, replaying the events in his mind. He had completed the mission, but barely. Up ahead, the stars stretched endlessly, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the challenges yet to come. Whatever lay beyond Krylos, Alex knew one thing for certain. He was ready. Because humans didn't just survive, they fought. And Alex intended to keep fighting, no matter the odds. The shuttle hummed softly as it re-entered the alien ship, its sleek frame gliding effortlessly into the docking bay. Alex sat slumped in his seat, still catching his breath after the harrowing escape from Krylos. His suit had taken a beating during the skirmish, scorch marks marred its surface, and one of the thrusters emitted a faint whine, but it had held together just long enough to get him out alive. As the hatch opened, Xyler and Kale were waiting for him, their expressions unreadable. Alex stepped out gingerly, his legs stiff from the adrenaline crash. He removed his helmet, running a hand through his sweat-soaked hair before meeting their gazes. "Well?" he asked, his voice hoarse but defiant. "Did I screw up?" Xyler tilted its head slightly, studying him with those unblinking black eyes. "You survived," it said simply. "And you gathered valuable intelligence. That is sufficient." "Sufficient?" Alex echoed incredulously. "I nearly got vaporized down there. Doesn't that count for anything?" Kale stepped forward, their tone gentle compared to Xyler's cold demeanor. "It does. Your actions proved your resourcefulness, and your courage. Few would have made it back alive. Alex snorted, leaning against the wall of the docking bay. Yeah, well, I didn't exactly have a choice, did I? You sent me in blind, expecting me to figure things out on the fly. That was the point, Xyler interjected sharply. To test whether you could adapt under pressure. And you did. Adaptation, Alex muttered, crossing his arms. Is that all this is about? Testing how much I can take before I break? No, Kale replied firmly. It is about more than survival. It is about growth. About becoming something greater than what you were. Alex frowned, considering the words. Despite his frustration, he couldn't deny that he felt different. Stronger. More capable. The mission to Krylos had pushed him to his limits, forcing him to rely not only on his instincts but also on everything he'd learned aboard the ship. For the first time, he began to understand why Xyler and Kale had subjected him to such grueling trials. So, what now? Alex asked finally, straightening up. Do I get a medal? Or do we move on to the next death trap? Xyler's lips curled into what might have been the closest thing to a smile it was capable of. There will be more missions. More challenges. But you have earned a brief respite. Kale gestured toward a nearby door. Come. We will debrief you and analyze the data you collected. Reluctantly, Alex followed them into another chamber, a smaller, quieter space filled with holographic displays and analysis equipment. As they reviewed the recordings from his suit, Alex recounted every detail of the mission, the layout of the Vortex settlement, the behavior of the warriors, and the significance of the central monolith. They're planning something big, Alex concluded, pointing to the holoscreen where images of the energy barriers flickered ominously. Whatever's inside that monolith, it's important. Xyler nodded thoughtfully. Agreed. This confirms our suspicions. The Vortex are amassing resources for an expansion. If left unchecked, they could pose a serious threat, not only to your species but to countless others. Alex leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. So, what's the plan? Do we hit them hard? Take out their leaders? It is not that simple, Kale cautioned. Direct confrontation would risk escalation. We must proceed carefully, gathering allies and preparing defenses. Great, Alex muttered sarcastically. More waiting around while the universe decides if Earth gets turned into rubble or not. Xyler fixed him with an intense stare. Patience is a virtue even humans must learn. Rushing blindly into conflict without preparation leads only to failure. Alex sighed, knowing the alien had a point, even if he didn't like hearing it. Fine. So, what's my role in all this? Am I just your errand boy, running missions until someone bigger and badder comes along? You are more than that, Kale said earnestly. You are a bridge, a connection between humanity and the wider galaxy. Through you, we hope to better understand your species' potential. And maybe prove that we're worth saving? Alex added, raising an eyebrow. In part, Xyler admitted. But also to ensure that when the time comes, you are ready to stand alongside us, or against us. The weight of the statement hung heavy in the air. Alex knew there was no guarantee of trust between him and these aliens. They weren't doing this out of altruism. They had their own agendas, their own reasons for testing him. But despite their motives, Alex couldn't deny the truth in their words. If humanity wanted a place among the stars, they'd have to earn it. And if anyone could rise to the challenge, it was him. Later that day, or night, depending on how you measured time aboard the ship, Alex found himself alone in a quiet corner of the vessel. He stared out at the endless expanse of stars through a large viewport, his mind racing with thoughts of home. Willow Creek seemed impossibly far away now, almost like a dream. Yet, the faces of his friends and family lingered in his memory, grounding him. He thought about Sam, who would probably never believe any of this even if Alex tried to explain it. He thought about the townsfolk, their lives continuing as normal while he fought battles light years away. And he thought about Earth itself, the blue-green orb floating in the void, fragile yet resilient, teeming with life and possibility. A soft sound drew his attention, and he turned to see Kale approaching. Unlike Xyler, whose presence always felt imposing, Kale radiated a quiet calmness that put Alex at ease. You should rest, Kale suggested gently. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. I'm fine, Alex replied, though his tired eyes betrayed him. Just thinking. About your planet? Kale guessed, joining him by the viewport. It is beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, Alex admitted. Makes you realize what's at stake. Kale nodded slowly. Your attachment to your world, that is what makes you unique. Many species lose sight of their origins as they expand. But you carry it with you, even here. Alex chuckled dryly. Guess that's why I keep biting back, huh? Stubbornness runs deep. It is more than stubbornness, Kale corrected. It is resolve. Determination. Hope. For once, Alex didn't argue. Instead, he looked back at the stars, feeling a strange sense of purpose settle over him. Whatever lay ahead, more missions, more battles, more impossible odds, he knew he wouldn't face them alone. Not anymore. Because humans didn't just fight for themselves. They fought for each other. For their planet. For the future. And Alex intended to make sure that future belonged to Earth. As Kale walked away, leaving him to his thoughts, Alex whispered softly to himself, almost as a promise. We'll show you, Xyler. Humans don't just survive, we thrive. And we don't give up. Not ever.